24. The time is 6:01 p.m. I'd like to call the Plan Commission regular meeting to order. Myself, Mike Capper is present.
Dan Banas, Dave Wallner,
Christy Beck, Jessica Blair.
And Lane Belter is absent tonight. Public comment on agenda items? Do you guys have any public comments? And then if we can skip to number 5, new business, and then we'll go back. And that's an old business after we go through that. If that's all right with everyone? Discussion possible recommendation, Ryan Banas property, water runoff concerns. Bob, you or Chuck want to start?
well, there was with some of the larger rain events, there was some erosion. But the rear part of Ryan's property. We did meet about a month ago. And with the town was involved in that meeting as well. And, at that time, we kind of talked about the best way to remedy it. Capstone expressed a willingness to, work and, mitigate the situation. So I guess I don't know what the current specific concerns Mr. Banas has.
Has there been a new plan or anything done? Matt, can you speak to any updates?
I can give you a little bit of timeline over the last 30 days of what's come forward. Right after that meeting, we did draw up a plan based on our discussions on site of how we could channelize some of the flow that was coming through their property on the emergency overflow. And I did send that over to Ryan and gave him a chance to look at it. I have not heard any response on that part. That event actually did spur the DNR to be involved with the erosion out there. So DNR did come out and met with Ryan's family as well as with us, and we were issued some pretty hefty citations and some responsibility that we were given to do some additional work on the site. So I'll speak a little bit open about that here. So we've been working with the DNR, and it was not specific to Ryan's property. It was specific to the event itself, the rain event. I don't know if you know the totals, but between September 27th and 29th, our rain gauge caught over 6 inches of rain on a site that we were actively working and grading and also doing our utility work in. So it really did destroy a lot of work that we had done out there. So we've actually mobilized almost $100,000 in extra costs to clean up from that event, to do a lot more work out there to kind of get the entire site brought clean. We have no interest in being in poor standing with the community here or with any of the city agencies. And though that was out of our control, we wish we could have had control over the weather that day. It was out of our control to do anything about that. So we are back in compliance with DNR. We actually had a final review with them this week, and that was great. So we're all tidied up on that end of things. There has been a lot more work that was done on the hill above their property, so that there's some additional biologs placed along the hillside there to help slow velocity of water that would come down and then channel towards the outlot, the city's outlot there. It kind of separates the properties at a little narrow angle there. So there's some of that was installed, and we also installed additional silt fence along the top of the hillside too. So there's been a lot more work done out there to just kind of give it every chance it can have to stabilize, to grow, and to turn into what it was designed to do, which is a meadow field hillside there that would help channelize and create a better flow of erosion off of there. So there shouldn't be erosion moving forward based on all that extra work that was done. So
has the hill, I was out there with Brian about a month ago too, and the hill was pretty steep and kind of ran right down. What kind of things did you guys do to
so it's all blanketed, which is above and beyond the original plan that was approved by DNR, that was approved in all of our work, was just seed mulch through there. So the next step beyond that is EMAP blanketing. So it's all been EMAP blanketed. And then beyond that, there's they're biologs that are staked in there at certain intervals up the hill. And that's to control volume of runoff. So anytime you have those, they'll kind of stop the runoff until they fill up and then the next one. So those are all up that hillside now. And then at the top of the hill, it really is a little bit redundant, but there's an additional silt fence at the top of the hill as well. So, and there's grass growing, stabilization's doing its thing across the top there where the pads are. So all those elements have been brought under control as well. So.
And that's being shed towards outlot 7? Or 17?
I'm not familiar with outlot numbers. I guess I could grab my plans, but
Or is
They
it
just-
being directed and shed away, down and away?
so the normal flow and how that was designed is it comes down that hill and comes to the west into the city's outlot there. And then there's some lowland there where it would fill up there and then come back, goes through the normal emergency overflows that run back through the back of their property and then comes through. And then actually is eventually, if it was a massive 100-year event, would fill up their property and then overflow down into other properties as well. So, yeah, so it's all following its natural design from where it was before. And by the modeling and by what the DNR has reviewed and what we had presented here, our SWIP, our stormwater protection plan, there was a reduction in overall flow through there. Some of that won't be realized until we finish building houses. That's some of that reduction comes from the home building where that then sheds water towards the front of the lots and controls like your gutters and some of those other things that move water away from the pad itself. So so that will get controlled as we do additional work up there and building our homes. And but the stabilization, which the DNR has been really involved with that too. Like I said, it's met all their requirements and desires for additional work done beyond what was originally the design.
Basically, DNR just looks for erosion. But in storm runoff or snow melt off, so in a heavy snowfall year, what would the effects be on Ryan's property with that?
In the modeling, it was an improvement from how it was previously. For the modeling to work, we need to continue to finish the construction. So that's the big challenge that we had with this, is this was a rain event in the middle of our construction. Our modeling that we presented and that was approved and went through all the permitting processes, that doesn't really come into true effect until the development is completed. So when that rain event came through, we hadn't even finished. We actually are just now working through our storm treatment facilities up there. So all of our storm treatment containing systems, all of our pipe, all of our drain catches and everything, that's all getting installed here over the next 2 weeks. Once that's complete, once all of the erosion control is growing and doing its work, once we get yards in that can capture some of that rain, all those different elements, once they all come together, then the modeling that was presented should be accurate. You should see that exact modeling work because that's what it's all designed off of, is the completed development.
So you're saying that the overflow though will flood his property in the future?
It had in the past. So yeah, we reduced some of the flow that comes through that, but it had always done that. That's all the modeling and the topography that all rolled through his property to flow continuing downhill. And then it catches and goes down where La Grandeur is now. It would eventually flow down through that, and catch down into the basin. So that's the natural flow of the topography out there from before we disturbed it.
Did you have any original maps before the construction of what the property was?
Yeah, it's a part of the original preliminary plat and a part of the original first edition. All that existing conditions was in that, as well as in the stormwater permit. So those
You
can
know,
all be provided.
I've been back in there a few times before anything happened. I remember there was a huge swale. I mean, with all the trees, it's really hard to say what exactly happened. Remember there being a low spot in your development back there in
Okay.
that area?
Yeah, not having that original stuff, like I said, it's in the stormwater plan, so you can see existing conditions. And so the stormwater plan takes existing conditions and then models a plan that it has to be better. We can't degrade the conditions in there.
Right.
So the stormwater took those existing conditions and modeled them to be improved for a better condition.
Yeah, so how much fill, because if I remember, trying to think, it's hard to say because, you know, there's all the trees back there. But that area of the lots back there with the houses in the cul-de-sac came in, just thinking, looking back, but I remember there was a large low spot back there. and you guys, did you fill it in?
There was a ravine in there,
Yeah,
so that ravine cut in, that we had filled. So that ravine basically was there and then it channeled right towards the outlet, what's the outlet there?
lot 7.
It channeled towards that and then filled into that area and then flowed through Ryan's property, through the adjacent neighbor and out if you had a major event, so. That, sorry, I'm not sure if that answers your question there,
So
so.
I'm just trying to think, cause they said, I mean, it's hard when you walk into it, all the trees and all the timbers in there and you're looking around, but I remember low spots back in that corner when you got towards the cul-de-sac area and, which farm is on the northwest of that.
Mhm.
But I was just trying to think how it laid. And then, cause I did walk out on the development the other day. And it looks to me like that low area in the ravine, as you called it, it looks like there's substantial fill that you put over it. Then looking back into the Ryan's property, it looked to me like there's quite a bit of slope off the top of the hill that will drain back into his property. So, you know, can we be sure that we're containing the water off that and not sending it through his property? And I think then, you know, it's the other property to the east of him too, that would flow through too.
Yeah, and again, going back to existing conditions as they were, everything was above Ryan's property, there still is above Ryan's property in elevation. Other than that portion in the outlot that has some depression in it, which is defined as, I believe it is defined as some element of storm control. Because out of that, once water goes into that bowl, it would have filled up and then flowed downhill through Ryan's property and off into the other property adjacent. So the difference now is very likely related to the tree cover maybe not being there. That could have impacted that. That's why I'm saying the storm water plan that's been modeled off of pre-existing and current conditions does require the development to be finished. So we need to be able to have the stormwater systems in place to control storm events. We need to have vegetation growing. We need to have all those things done. And then in the conversation with DNR, we did extra measures to above and beyond our stormwater plan, just to make sure that there were some additional measures for the potential for, like you had said, the snow melt and some of those other events that will come here possibly over the next 6 to 8 months. For right now, it's really difficult to control an event like what happened that day. That was an extreme event. And like I said, it was an extreme event that happened right in the middle of development before we had structures and systems in place to really control it well. So those are there now. And after the next couple of weeks, we'll have our stormwater system in. So those things together should be a much more measurable approach to events. But I cannot guarantee that if we got another 5 inches of rain within a short 48-hour window, that we couldn't prevent runoff from going where its natural direction is. That would be difficult.
Matt, what would happen just for Ryan's peace of mind more than anything? Say each year for the next 5 years, there's still a problem. Are you guys still kind of responsible or willing to do something to help him remedy that if it is a problem?
Yeah, and we offered a solution, I think, and being out there with the village and the township and with all the engineers that were involved in that, we had our engineers, MSA was there. I think there was an offer there to do some work to help with that. And it was to channelize, the water's gonna go onto that property. There's nothing that can be done about that. In any event, if you have a multi-inch rainfall, it's gonna go through their property. And so I think our offer was to come in and help channelize that. So it goes into that really deep low spot and then can overflow and go out of that. We'd be happy to continue to offer that solution. I don't know that there's really, I would have to talk with our engineers to see what kind of a solution there is beyond that. So for us is to get stabilization, to get grass growing, get trees up on the hills, get things going up there that'll do what was designed to be done up there in terms of managing the stormwater. I think that's the most critical thing that we need to work towards.
Yeah, when we went out there, the area of concern, there's even a lower spot further to the west that if you channelize some of that.
That's out lot 7, right?
No, it's still
Still
around
on
property.
Ryan's property.
Yeah.
My idea was for him to have you guys put in a pond for him, put a sprinkler through it.
Yeah,
So,
please don't hear me on this. I am concerned about it. We came out and met with you with an intention of providing solutions, so we're still here for that. I just, we have to rely on engineers. We have to rely on the people that are experts in the field of this, and that's what our plan was designed after, was the experts. And it was not just our engineers, but like I said, DNR reviewed that. There was a pretty extensive process for them to go through it. So all this stuff has had a lot of eyes on it, and eyes are all on the finished product, and that's what we're trying to explain. We got to get to that finish line and test it. And if it doesn't work, we've got some solutions to help channelize water flow. And at that point, we'd have to just continue the conversation with the village, with your engineers, and with ours to see if there's something beyond that. There's no way that in any event, we could prevent water from being on their property, on ours, on any of them. I mean, I can show you pictures of the impact to our property too, that are unfortunately far greater than just the standing water that they had in theirs. We have some significant challenges. Like I said, we've invested almost $100,000 to clean up from that event. So
What were the dates?
those rainstorms came the week of September 26th. So, or sorry, August
No.
26th. I
Okay,
apologize.
that's where I'm
Yep.
confused. 'Cause
It was July 13th and 17th, we got almost 5 inches of rain within the same week. I was standing in 2.5 feet of water.
The rain event,
I was told that the engineers were adequately protecting my property.
the rain event that we've been dealing with specifically was right before Labor Day. So, and there was other rain events earlier in the summer as well. But the one that really drew a lot of attention that we all, I think, worked after was right there before Labor Day, a week or two before Labor Day.
So yeah, just to, he touched upon it a couple of times here, but, what happens is his engineer develops a surface water management plan, it gets submitted to MSA, and then we review or comment it, and then go back and forth, and then it goes to the DNR. and the NSI.
They ever go for peer review for third set of eyes or?
Well, we're kind of, I mean, it's the developer, then it's us, and then it's the DNR.
Brian, do you have anything you want to add or an ask of the village or anything like that while we're having this on the agenda?
Chuck, were you part of signing off the water drainage for River Hills?
Yes,
So I know that development has a history of issues. Why should I believe this next one you signed off is gonna be any better?
well, they didn't follow the grading plan, that was the issue.
So it's all down to a grading plan?
Yeah, but since then, the village has changed their processes. Where it require as-built grading plans now to make sure that it complies with the way it was intended to be built.
Okay, so you're saying that it was intentional that this slope was to go towards my property?
Yes. I mean,
So,
again, that's what the desktop analysis and, they do the topo survey and all that stuff, and what the numbers are telling the water resource engineers is that, in theory, when it's fully built out, less water's, going towards your property.
where I'm struggling with this is the ground was altered. Before it was ever altered, I never had any issues with water flow. So you would think that being in a development, you would have to contain the water on the development, not push it off to someone else.
Yeah, I mean,
So the solution
Water
that
has
was
to flow.
given to me was I need to alter my property in order to make way for the water that you're pushing off on me.
so I guess, we met out there and we talked about what could be done, or, I guess, what's your suggestion, I guess? Cause
In the back of lots 1 through 11, the water goes to the back of lots and stays on the property. There's a channel all the way on the backside of every single one of those lots. Why could that not have been done with the next section of lots?
1 through 11 behind your place or something like that?
1 through 11 is the first section of building, which is behind Robert Urban's property.
I think what Matt had said is once they actually build it, they build up the front yard to be able to push things to the,
2/3 of it, 1/3 of it will always come back at me.
And hopefully, once the grass and vegetation is there and
So we just have to base off of everything off of hope then,
well.
when we know that it's an issue now.
Probably not just hope, but the engineers that do this have done it a long time, so hopefully it works, and if it doesn't, let's fix it if it doesn't.
And there's a commitment from the developer that, we have, there's warranty periods and, security and everything else, so.
And how do you get to that hill after the fact? Two of those lots touch my property. 12 and 13 come all the way to the property line. You have no access back there other than going through my lot.
Oh, there's drainage in it too.
So Ryan, because it's really hard for me to visualize it with no trees versus when I was in there when there was all the trees and the regular terrain.
Yep.
I mean, I remember that low spot, so how much higher does the grade look to you compared to what it was prior from the backside of your lot?
So I remember that little ravine being probably close to 125 feet, maybe 150 feet in from the property line. Now it's right at the base of the property line. So they filled it in all the way in. I know on the, would it be my east corner, it was a little higher than on the west side, but it looks like it's 15, maybe 20 feet tall. And it looks higher than it was before. It could be just my perception, after looking at it, because I did watch all the bulldozers fill it in, push a lot of dirt in there. So I watched it go from a really low spot to what it is today.
We're on here, can you show me?
So these two lots
Kasia?
bump up all the way to
I
the
need to know
property
what one
line.
he's looking at, and then I'll pull it up.
So.
You have access behind them to get there?
Can I
Can you
just
share
offer
your-
this
Too,
Can you share
sorry.
your screen, brother?
This is part of the SWIP, and this might answer some of your questions with the ravine. This was the existing conditions exhibit.
Yeah.
We had this out when we were talking with you, Ryan. I think you got a copy of that for me too.
Yeah.
But this is showing that ravine, so you can see the existing conditions, how they were. Here's Ryan's property right there, so I don't know if you want to share that with the group, but that might help. Sure. That question a little bit.
Yeah,
Can you share
that's the
your
corner of the
screen,
property.
I'm not hitting that.
Will any of these help what you're looking at,
If you go, yep, that one back there.
This one?
Yeah.
That one?
Below that,
Then
we,
zoom it in.
Okay.
This is the corner. So you can see that's.
Right in this
The
area.
model showing.
down.
This is the existing.
Yeah.
Drainage.
Yep, you stop there and then.
Zoom in more.
Yep.
Am I close?
We, yeah, you stop right there and then go, bring it down. The other way, down. Up.
Well, it's a 50-50 shot.
I know.
If you close your all tools sidebar, that'll help things. And then you gotta go about, let's see, I'm at,
Ryan, and past.
About how many
years?
acres?
Was it 3 years we had heavy snow?
Yep.
What was it like back there then?
After it was dry, the entire time I've owned the property for 5 years, I've never seen any standing water in that location.
Zoom in more.
And the other concern of mine is at the base of my septic.
a little bit more.
I've been told by few people that I made contact over the summer, because I've been dealing with this all summer. One was an environmental scientist. He had said that within 2 years, if this isn't corrected,
Go,
I could start building a pond next to my septic.
see where that, those lines are,
Mhm.
where it's 41. And if you would shift over. Yep. So that 884, and you see 884 is gonna be the existing conditions there. Yep, move your cursor to the left, my left, you're probably your right, up, nope, just the cursor. 884, and if you go to your right, or my left.
Yeah, I got it. You want me to pull the screen that way?
No,
No.
just the cursor.
Just-
So I'm just trying to point out that 890,
Yeah.
that 884, let's go to 884.
Got it.
And if you shift and find that other lighter color 884
Oh, it's not.
right there.
Right here.
Yep, so there's your overlay. And that's the change.
So that is just for showing, so everybody can understand what this is. These dashed lines were existing conditions. So this is the ravine that we're talking about here. The dashed lines show the ravine. So the new grading that went in there just matched those existing condition lines as we filled that in. So those existing condition lines, you can see where it touches here, follows and it catches it back over on the other side. So that's all that is, 4-to-1. So these existing lines here, this one right here, would be at that 900. So you can see this ended up being somewhat of a cut across the top to balance that out. Here, so there's actually a cut here and here. That is what was brought in to fill this to make it into that house pad. So you can see the tie-ins.
So if you bring the big checker line down to the very bottom of the screen, you can see that those arrows are where water shed, and then if you keep going down a little bit more, the front of those arrows are marking where that front of that water is going back onto the street.
So currently, that's the future model, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the backyards of 16 all the way down to 11, they'll be shedding downhill into Ryan's property.
But you can see that it's split there on 16.
Part of 16. Part of 16, right.
Where do people put their downspouts on their houses? You're gonna make sure that they make them in the front of the houses, so that all the rough water doesn't come backwards.
Yeah, I don't know how much ability you have to control that, Matt.
I don't. The downspouts on the rear of the houses are going to go to the rear. We wouldn't be able to pull that water back into the front.
So every house that's there is designed to shed water, so you're saying that all that water will then eventually go backwards as well. So basically, we're talking about 3 acres of land will still go backwards once their gutters are on.
Hopefully it soaks into the ground, the majority of it.
So again, we're back
It'll take a
to,
long time before that happens.
Gotta know the size of the acreage.
I know that fresh compacted material doesn't absorb anywhere near existing field and woods. You know, so until this is all vegetated and grown up, you could actually have a serious problem the first 4, 5 or more years. And looking at with the roof lines that are up back on every house, I mean, it's,
And just not to interrupt you, Dave, but you know, when those two large events occurred, at least the second one, I can't speak for the first one. But it was basically all just hard pan, no turf. I
right.
mean, it might as well been
Been a concrete
Exactly, it's all
parking lot.
fresh compacted.
Right.
yeah, you know, and then once we have, you know, it'll be steps, right? Once you have the turf established,
It'll catch a
it'll
lot
catch, it'll
more.
flow, it'll absorb some of that,
The water,
yeah.
the
But,
sewer system.
you know, in theory,
gutter
a
system.
smaller area that was naturally draining there is now gonna be draining there. But it flashed and, you know, really hard.
Matt, will you kind of overlook these properties as they're being built and try to make sure whatever they can do for sodding and everything in those backyards to make it the least amount of problems for Ryan's property?
We 100% we've got a whole team that are overlooking this until the last house is built.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll be engaged with that. We are sodding all these yards up to sod limits. We're not gonna go and disturb this hillside after it's been established like it is. It's gonna be left that way because there's been a lot of work on that, and DNR's directive on that was the logs, the EMAT, the everything that's in there is following their guidance on that. So I think we're gonna stand with that. Putting that fence across the top, that fence right now sits right at the very top of this ridge all the way across. That's not going away until we've got establishment, so that'll also break any water that's gonna come through there. So you have quite a few elements of that. But
Is there any talk of like a long drain tile somewhere in there to spread more of that
Well,
water towards the outlet?
I think I wanna kind of, and I know this might be challenging to pull this out a little bit, but Chuck's comment is very relevant. And if you can slide to your left.
Is that right?
Yeah, perfect, and then go back up just a little bit. I'll look at yours and communicate that way.
Mhm.
When that event happened, all of this had been seeded, but the seed did not establish and it was just flat ground, so all of this area, I think we did have a little bit of a trench cut through here for the road, but there was so much water that was on here that all went towards outlot 2 and all flowed down in here. That's what I'm concerned about. I want to control that. And that's what we hadn't been able to do until we get the storm system built and put in where we're at right now. And I really do believe in the modeling. I believe in the system that we've put together. There was a lot of hard work that went into that. I don't doubt that. I believe that once it's built and it's operating, it's going to do what it needs to do. So, and none of us can guarantee. I know, Ryan, I've heard you, a guarantee would be awesome if I could give that. I don't think any of us have the ability to give a guarantee on that. But I can say, as you had asked, we're here and we're involved. And we're not just doing this in a fly-by-night heading out the door. And we have a very strong relationship here with the city. We want to see that relationship continue to grow. And if I was to underperform and create something that was a mess and just walk out the door, that's not going to do me any favors. So you have our commitment to the city. You have my commitment to continue to build this the way it's designed and to do what we have to do to continue to protect the properties. I just can't commit to weather. I can't commit to a 100-year event. And those are the things that are challenging for any type of development. So, but I do believe that the modeling and everything that we went through, we spent almost a year working on that. I believe that it's going to work once we get this thing finished out.
Ryan, what do you think the potential of damage to your septic could be? Would have been told?
So the St. Croix Sanitary, I had them out to inspect it, and they said that if it's not corrected within the next 5 years, it'll really affect the life of my septic system, which is at this point only 5 years old. He couldn't give me an exact date, but he told me it needed to be corrected. He said if it was much older than it was, he would have been more worried than he was.
Anything else you'd like to see from the village?
I guess not this time. I guess the only other thing that I have to comment about is I was here at this meeting 5 years ago to talk about that chunk of land. And I knew eventually something was gonna happen out there, but I didn't realize that it was gonna be basically a total clear cut of everything and leveled out to what it was. Exactly what Somerset has done to every other development in the past, and every other development in the past has had a stormwater issue. And now that's what we're seeing now. And that was something that Bob, you had said to me 5 years ago.
We put some better things in place to hold the actual builders and developers accountable, because they weren't following the grading plans that they submitted.
Builder has the same thing at the end of the day, it's to make money. They made money and they walked away. Let's say Capstone's not gonna do the same thing.
Not our attention, nor the way we go.
Matt, would you be willing to send Mr. Manas's family a letter just stating that you're aware of the situation and that you will be committed to him in the future, so he knows that if 4, 5, 6, or 10 years from now, if he has a disaster and has to replace the septic system, would you be willing to send him a letter and let him know that you'll be there with your development?
I'll absolutely take that under advisement. We have communicated with Ryan, like I said, we did send them some opportunity to do some on-site on their property remediation, and that offer still stands, but I'll definitely take them into advisement.
Is it, the offers, were they in verbal or are?
No, I I had sent him an email, it was copied to the village and to the township, so there's an awareness of our offer to go in there and channelize the water to help it, so the problem here is that the water came in and pools up every once in a while, these really heavy rains. And so we offered to do a channelization to help that water move, and then overseed it with a nice
So
stormwater
there is a,
seed mix.
there is a chain of written
Yes,
documentation.
Yep.
That he has, okay.
Anything on that, or move on? Discussion, possible recommendation, plat review, Campstone Homes, Outlot 5, Pineville, St. Clair County, Wisconsin. Thank you, Ron.
all right, I don't really have a presentation, this is just our next edition. So this is planning for next year, we have another group of lots that'll be 41 total new lots that'll be in our next edition, so this is Pineville first edition. So this goes further up to the north and actually does the connections to the northern property. So this is all 65-foot lots, so this first phase that we did was all 80-foot lots, so this is a little bit smaller lot size up there. But this is where we're going next, so we anticipate the existing development that we've done so far will probably be pretty well through all those homes. Within about 12 months, those lots will pretty well be empty, or we may have 5 or 6 left. So we're just planning and prepared for what's the next phase for us. So the plan was submitted. We've got comments back from the city engineer. Really, there's no deviation at all from the preliminary plat approval. So this is just continuing the community as it was designed. So.
When you put these up, can you share them? too?
Share the screen.
Yeah. Thank you.
Specifications page is fairly lengthy. Yeah, but I would, I mean, if you want to look at the specific site plan itself, that has the road layouts and more of the lot specifics. All the grading work for this was completed in this first edition. The entire site was graded. So we were just focused on just street utility work on this next phase.
Yeah, the bulk of our comments were related to just some adjustments to the plans. Some corrections. Some minor tweaks to vertical curves. And looking at catenary hydrants. Stuff. So any approval, any recommended approval, I just say contingent upon.
Did you want to go page by page on this?
On which one?
It'd be the
This?
water utility, no, that's the specifications. Part 2, so.
This one?
Yeah. So our comments start at page 4. We got to do with the water service at lot 54. It's got 22-degree bends shown. We're suggesting that we moved a little bit. Probably from moving the service towards the hydrant, far away from the sanitary.
Yeah, there's just some, service connections that.
Yeah, line 84 is water service to close sanitary manhole. We're asking to push that away so we have 10 feet separation. Lot 49, we have a correction for insulation,
What do you have for 49?
just insulation.
It's not shown over the services, it's just that, not that they would install it like that, but.
H5 calls out for temporary hydrant, water main stone, Stone Pine Road. Lot 81, sanitary service, that's another one. Less than 3 feet of separation. Nice to get that 3 feet. Same with lot 74 and 79. 72, just moving that to get 10 feet of separation from sanitary.
So 72 is a
Those are just adjustments to separate water from sanitary.
how far do you want to move from?
10.
Good engineering practice, if that's, doesn't, per se. but-
Matt, have you gone through their suggestions for corrections?
Yep.
Any-
Aaron Brisky was working on those today. I anticipate that we'll have them back. If not by the end of the week, by first of next. So they're all minor corrections, nothing changing the design or plan, so.
Is there any other corrections?
Just roadway plans, K values.
There's a little more, I guess, one of the more major ones is just there was wanted a little bit more separation between the lowest opening and a couple of houses and the emergency overflow. So, potentially backing up. Stream thought. It's all for, it's all. easily workable.
None of these are big issues.
No,
Minor.
And, Aaron will go through them, and then if he disagrees with any of them, we'll talk through it. I don't see anything here that's, that prohibits. We're recommending it, approval contingent upon, addressing their comments.
I will make a recommendation to approve the plan review for Capstone Homes on lot 5, Pinedale,
With corrections?
with, that's right, with the MSA corrections that we talked about and the dimensions.
Just waiting for a second.
A second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All the same sign. Great. Thank you, Mr. Barker. Discussion, possible recommendation, site plan review, Derrick Building Solutions, lot 2 of CSM, volume 27, page 3120, document number 1013035, located in the northwest quarter of the southwest 1/3 and southwest quarter, section 36T, 31 north, R19 in the village of Somerset, County of St. Croix. And Bob, you and MSA have gone through this.
Yep.
I'm sure with. It's going.
Reached out to Aaron, Mark. Says our comments was fairly minor. Never retaining wall, we're asking for some fall protection on that, so cars don't inadvertently back out of it. That was a big one. Parking lot drainage, covered that.
We ever look at an additional driveway at all?
Then we talked through that, and that would have to go back so far, and that did lose 30% of their parking. So we inquired about additional access, ingress, egress, because there's the one, that's really up to the owner of the site on the desirability of that. That doesn't really affect the site, in terms of technology or things like that nature. But Chuck and I went up there and it's, what we got, 9-1, 10-1 there?
Yeah,
It is pretty significant.
It'd be difficult. I mean, ideally, you drive in there in the parking lot, for whatever reason it's full. It's nice to be just to naturally drive out again, but now you have to turn around and go out the same way you came in.
So right now, where does the water flow to from off the building?
There's a pond,
Quick Trips Pond.
yeah,
There's a private on.
and that it was always intended to serve this lot, that pond between the Quick Trip and the site.
We don't need a manhole or something in the middle of the parking lot to drain everything down to, or
No, they have it,
There is.
it's all,
It's
about tips
what
and
page are we on? I'm not sure.
It's valley guttered.
well, there is a valley there, yeah.
This goes into the. That's the cash card here,
I'm talking about like a manhole or drainage.
right, it's all there.
It's all surface drainage to the.
Here's the swell. That's the swell. That's right. This will take over right now. So Bob, going to the west,
Towards Dairy Queen.
off the back parking lot here. Is it just, cause I'm not sure what the grade is down to the road down to Dairy Queen.
Yeah. So pretty significant, from theirs. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm Mark Johnson with Derrick Building Solutions, and we did actually look at bringing the driveway, if you don't mind me just coming up to the map here. This is the Quick Trip up on the hill. Dairy Queen is down here. And from where the lot is at, we did initially look at trying to come out off to the west here. But as you can see, the existing grades are so steep that we would have had to bring that drive lane into the lot so far.
Yeah.
Not only did it start to compromise the number of parking spaces that we would be able to gain, but what it also did is it started throwing the water to the west, whereas this lot is designed to have the water go into this regional pond. And so by putting the drive lane there, like I said, it made a lot of complications. And the biggest thing is like what we're talking about here tonight is water retention and management. With the drive going off to the north, now we can manage that drainage very easily.
Bob, in the developer's agreement with Quick Trip, did they turn that pond over to the village upon completion, or is that still owned by them?
That's theirs.
So has there been discussion with Quick Trip about using their pond for runoff?
They have, that's part of the developer's agreement.
Yep.
That was the lot when it was purchased, that pond is designed to be able to.
So you guys bought that lot from Quick Trip with that agreement?
Mr. Lindbergh did, yeah.
Perfect. That solves that.
I remember when we did this, that large pond, looked out and big, but they said it's pretty tight.
Fine.
Compared to pond.
Quick Trip does it right.
Well, they wanted to control it, I'm sure, so they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, just above the gas station. I guess, yeah. That's not us.
Yeah.
Are there any
there are covenants on
any
everything,
tenants
so.
for this yet, or are you?
Joe Lindbergh is planning on having his dental office there, and we're working on trying to secure additional tenants. We haven't gotten them yet, any signed agreements, but there's been some interest in it, yes.
I don't have any questions. Anybody else have any questions? You know, make a motion.
accept the plan submitted by Garrett Construction. City's approval and everything. Yeah.
I second.
The first and second, any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll say aye.
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 Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Approval to the village board. Discussion possible recommendation rezoning Richard and Mary Gilkerson, parcel 181-4109-066-000. Papers here.
So this is located on the Reed Street cul-de-sac, behind J. Emmert's, social building. Yeah, fire,
BRS,
yes, yeah.
Brian Smith's building.
So- Yeah, and there was, actually, the property cut, the Gilkersons off from actually walking into their backyard without essentially trespassing. So, there was literally.
Get a push mower through.
Right, so, speaking with Jay agreed to, part away with some excess land that he didn't have a need for. They'd like to put a small building there for storage of yard equipment and whatever. And that Joe had surveyed that, GS Land Solutions. I talked to him a little bit. Don't have a lot to discuss on this unless there's questions.
How much land will you be adding?
It's 50 by 44 feet,
That's okay.
very small chunk.
And then you'll still have enough for setbacks when you're
Yeah.
building your own building.
Yeah, I've got it all laid out there right now.
Yeah, he meets the accessory setbacks on that side. But
We just need a rezone so he can tie it to our lot and then register it that way.
Simple.
Where on the map does this show that it's such a small area? Before. It doesn't, because I widened it out. Oh. Yeah. See if it shows on this one. Take that square that's going right here. This is what we bought.
Yep.
This line used to come right up here.
Oh,
I see out the corner of. And
The air
we have an air conditioner sitting right here. So I had virtually this much room to walk into my backyard.
front line, that kind of tells to the north.
So
Okay, now-
I think it was a 5.
Now you can see where that area was whited out.
That,
Yeah,
that
this-
line,
You can see the.
This is the line I drew into the map to show you guys what was added. But it was originally way up there.
that lot by those, definitely.
I guess. We just purchased it last year. And then I had a survey this spring to know where my lines were. And when I saw that, I'm like, holy cow.
Going to the yard.
I mean, Jay was fine letting us go back there. I go, yeah, but what if you sell? And then what do I do? So he was kind enough to sell us a little bit of it.
Good guy. But let's say 3-foot setbacks. For the outbuilding?
That's what he has on there, where he knows that it's.
Is that-
No, it's 7.
Okay,
I talked to the inspector before we got to permit.
so it's gonna be
He made me aware of that.
Oh, sure.
7 feet.
It is
so
7
it's 3
feet though.
Looks good to me. Anybody have any questions? You wanna make a motion?
Motion to approve the request from Richard Mary Junkerson. So the request we need is a rezoning because that little triangle that he find was commercial.
C2.
Okay, So the request would be, I mean, not necessarily for the added garage space, but for the rezoning factor, right?
Just rezoning.
And that would be to R1.
So I'll make a recommendation that we accept it and submit to the board for approval
Going to R1,
A rezone.
to residential.
PUD.
PUD, R1 PUD,
So from C2 to an R1 PUD.
There was nothing in our paperwork that said what was going through.
What we're going through right now.
Um,
Black account.
So they have to then, once they gain the piece apart, they come back and then. It's fun.
Building permit. We don't issue that.
So the garage, okay,
That one's the building inspector signs on it.
For a second,
I'll second.
a first and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion, possible recommendation, zoning amendment, professional office district.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
thank
We'll
you.
have the surveyor now come and put it all together and
Yep.
get it registered.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for coming in.
Yeah, thank
Thank you. Right, to see what they're doing, when I figure out what they're rezoning. Nice.
This next item, zoning amendment. We have a senior living developer interested in adding some senior housing. Teja's got the exhibit up there. It's on Rebirth Street. It'd be the south lot, not the north one, but I pointed both of those out. Do not allow, that zoning does not allow, it's the professional office district, does not allow for residential anything. And so when we discussed on the phone, he said, what about these locations? I said, I'm sorry, but we don't allow residential. I went back and looked at that after we talked, and it made a lot more sense after I spent some time on it, just because of the support services that are so close. You have the clinic, you have hair salon, you have everything, right?
Pantry.
Right, everything's right there, the fire department there, the town hall does the meals for the older people. Yeah, I'm like, you know, this makes a lot of sense. So I did reach out to one of our planners and said, is this, you know, people done this in the past? And he said, actually, yeah, because professional office districts just dying. Nobody's at an office space because they have the, you know, technology to work from home. So he said, there's actually a lot of communities that
That are switching back to that.
are allowing residential usage in here. So,
Don't we allow retail up here too, though?
Yeah.
Right? It's not just professional building offices.
yeah,
just
it's
retail.
retail's got a conditional use attached to it, so right
Okay.
now, those, a smoke shop, and all of those things are under a conditional use.
So this just isn't a zoning amendment.
It would
This
be,
is a all brand new language,
it would add language in there that would allow,
right?
instead of,
This is adding all of 13-1-48 to our ordinance
it would.
books.
Subsection D, it says prohibited uses, and item 6 is residential housing.
Oh, so is that the only addition is?
Would you make it a conditional use then, Bob?
Yeah, we would strike it and then make it a conditional use. So,
You'd still have some control over if, you know, somebody wants to put a house in the middle of the district or something, so, you know, it's a conditional use. So.
So what kind of structures you building?
60 units, he's considering now.
So it's a multi-floor,
So he was looking between 2.5 to 3 acres, and he would combine these. These are owned by Scott's Auto and Electronic. I've been sitting on them for 15 years or better. I can't get any interest in them, so by adding this, I would think that maybe that north lot would gain a little bit more desirability. There's actually people living in that age demographic, there very well could be a pharmacy or something else in that nature that would maybe locate there then. So,
The last one didn't do so hot.
no, but it's still something that, you know, you hear from community people, it should be nice to have a pharmacy in town.
But being that. Start from out back near my place in the Marines.
Yep. Yep, and I pointed that out, I said, you realize there's a still, and he says, yeah, that's, I wouldn't want to be on the opposite side of the highway. You'd be on one of the, on the south lot.
Opposite side of Reed Street.
Didn't we discuss certain hours and certain decibels for what you're talking
Hours,
about? Yeah.
That's-
Is that,
And when they slide steel, it's,
is it still all hours of the night that they're doing it?
no, it's early in the morning.
Oh, so after 7 AM.
I don't.
It's before
sometimes-
7 AM.
Yeah, they
Before
start,
7.
they start. about
Sometimes
5.
it's before 7.
Yeah,
I
But when
would,
they slide steel, it's pretty long.
I lived up there, it wasn't that,
You didn't think so?
I didn't think it was that bad when I lived up there. But
I don't hear complaints from anybody in the River
The
Hills area.
Jake breaking on the road is way worse on that road.
so instead of just striking residential housing, can we do residential housing with, conditional use permit?
Yeah,
That's what
we
it-
moved from prohibited to conditional use.
Oh,
We just moved up.
alright. Yep, that's crystal clear now for me. Anybody wanna make a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend the zoning amendment, special office district. And to move it basically from prohibited uses to conditional uses. Anything else I need to add, Bob?
For residential.
That-
Did you add residential? Right,
Residential housing to move it from prohibited.
Yeah, where you-
uses to
if you look at it,
conditional uses.
yep,
So, maybe this isn't totally residential housing. This is senior care center. So,
still,
It would fall.
It would
under-
still, it still falls under
residential.
residential.
but
Even
do
if
we
it's-
wanna call
even
it
if it's
specifically residential?
Even if it's commercial, it's still considered residential for senior housing.
Otherwise, we're changing just a couple of lots within this,
right,
but we can, if we can add it as a conditional use
And then,
and not have spot zoning.
and Bob or Tasia, when we do these changes, can we strike through what we're getting rid of and then italicize any new language, so it's easier to see what's getting added and what's getting struck?
Yeah.
Thank you. Mm,
is he shown in conceptual steering?
Gerard companies. Gerard companies.
So if we make the changes and then.
And then, did I hear you make a motion?
I think
Dan did, I don't have a second though.
Right, who, anybody
I'll
want a
second.
second?
I'll second.
Jessica second, any further discussion? All in favor? Aye, opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Discussion possible recommendations, CUP and sign violations.
Like, my work is done here.
Yes, yes, thank you for
Thank
sticking
you,
around.
everybody. Have a good night.
Good.
Chuck.
Do you want to start with this one?
Nice.
Yeah.
This is from dating back to a few signs we have in town that are not compliant and what parameters we do on CUP violations if there's not any action done.
Somerset Camp.
Right, so now village attorney is looking for a recommendation from the village before we start to take any action. The other part of this is the big billboard that's going to town that hasn't worked for years. That's in violation of our ordinance of a non-operating, non-functional sign. Well, I'm sure there's some kind of a nuisance ordinance too for how bad it looks.
Does Steve talk to you at all what he has over there, what he's doing?
He said that Michael's is staging there for all the utility upgrade for the transmission poles. He doesn't have a CUP at all, so that's probably the first thing that should be addressed is,
Having violation of,
having a CUP for on-site storage. Doesn't have, I think back in May, I called and talked to him and said, we need to work on getting that stuff out of here. And he was pretty confident by June, there's additional things that were actually brought in there, so, essentially, the village attorney is looking for the plan commission and the village board to authorize enforcement action to be taken, and draft letters to send them. So it's up to the commission to decide, how they want to handle those and handling them probably the same every way, so we have some consistency on.
Did you do anything more below the hill? Because you've been talking about 3 years ago, about
I don't know.
seasonal campsite.
Yeah, I
But
don't.
that's all the township, isn't it, below the hill? So the village is all on top there.
he did at the last meeting talk about someday trying to, in the near future, annex that in for city water and sewer. For seasonal campsites.
With our permission.
That's a good question. I'd like, and I think Bob's been talking to him for not way before May.
Probably.
Yeah, because this, I thought it was a staging area for when they were redoing the bridge a year ago, and then the stuff stayed, and then.
Yeah, every time I drive by, I think, like, I gotta ask somebody, and they never do, but I've been wondering the same thing.
Yeah.
And maybe
kind of nice,
when you drive by, you'll drive by for 2 more months, and you go, it's all still there,
more stuff.
and
Yeah,
there's more.
yeah, and he's told Bob several times that it's gonna, yep, it'll be out, they're moving out, and more and more stuff. And he said at the last meeting that they were taking all their stuff out. There's still a lot of stuff there.
What meeting we had, village board meeting?
What was that last
It
meeting?
was during our work session.
Our work session was that last week or week before?
Yeah, last week in September.
Steve was at the work session.
Quickly, that would be an agenda item, but he spoke to it, that I am getting that stuff out of here.
Yeah, that's not, Bob first tried several times to talk to him about it. It didn't have an effect. And so we're looking to a recommendation to go to the full village board. So the village attorney can put something with some teeth on, so it's not just somebody saying, I'm gonna get this done and not getting anything done.
Correct. I would say as a courtesy to let Steve and then also the billboard, let Mike Pettit know this is where it's going now.
Yeah, for sure.
And just get a hold of them and tell them on courtesy. We're gonna enforce this. So then they know that probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, they're gonna receive a letter from their attorney.
They would have time to remedy it hopefully before any action has to be taken.
Correct.
So all those trucks and all that stuff there isn't
Not
Stuff
supposed
the
to be
village is using? It's stuff he's using or he?
Why, I'm sure he's renting it.
Leasing it
Yeah.
out.
He's leasing it, okay.
That's,
But
they,
without, but without
Okay.
permit.
Without a
Every
permit.
time I drive by, I think the village is using that.
No,
Okay.
When they
Okay.
do when that project is anticipated.
whatever
It's
we,
just permanent
It's
parking at
staging
this
areas.
point. It's been there for
Yeah.
three,
People.
3 years.
monthly fee or in some form they will receive good compensation.
I will make a recommendation to proceed with,
A fine? I'm just kidding,
well,
but close to that.
yeah, but we as a board can't. We can recommend the village to pursue it, but we can't recommend it.
Whatever that.
Yeah.
Enforcement action is.
Or amount.
You can give them a time and once the time's up, it would be the first infraction on our fee schedule.
30 days. Plenty.
I think it's
So
at least
my
to show they
recommendation will
have.
say 30 days. From tonight or from the time the
From
village
the
board
time they,
passes it?
From the get notice.
Because we're making a recommendation.
from the time that they receive an official notice from the village.
From the time that they receive official notice from the village, we have 30 days
Remedy
to remedy the situation or
or fines may be imposed.
we begin with the first offense on this.
Prison time may be imposed.
No, I was surprised.
But, so if we do 30 days from the time they receive the notice, that gives the village board to look at it, from the village board to look at it, to the attorney to draft something up, so. And Bob is going to let them know that this may be coming someday down the road, so it's probably gonna be more like 45 days or something before they get it, so 45 days should be plenty of time to get everything remedied before we have to do any kind of enforcement action, because none of us wanna do that.
If we're talking about both properties, both issues.
It can be, one motion together, or it could be separate, but same thing, I mean, a year ago, Mr. Montero was
I
in.
would make my motion for both of them. Both of them go out too long.
Too long.
So now when you say remedy the situation, is it possible for him to get the permit for this?
In the meantime, he doesn't have it, so he needs to get the stuff out of there to remedy the
So
situation.
Steve could come in, apply for a CUP from us for temporary use of that space for Michael's.
Well, yeah, but at this point, he's had time to do it.
No, I get it, but now we have to force his hand.
And
Yeah, like Mike just said, he should be made to move everything out of there, get the permit, and somebody wants to come back, fine, because you got the permit. But to do all this stuff after the fact is kind of bad.
And especially when it's, yep, I'll get it done, and there's been no attempt to get it done, which is unfortunate, but hopefully with this, it'll get cleaned up. Did your motions state, Dan?
Both properties. Both properties.
And, but can you say your whole motion again?
Maybe. I'm gonna recommend to address the CUP and sign violations by sending a letter. Have the village send a letter to each individual and give them 30 days to remedy the situation before we start before we start off with the first offense,
From the date of notice.
from the date of notice.
Is there a second?
And that'd be a recommendation to the board.
That's a recommendation of the board, yes.
Well, and it's different too, because we're actually the zoning administrators too, so, and we don't really know what our job yet is as zoning administrators. But I'm fine with making a recommendation to the board. Is there a second?
I'll second.
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
So Bob, will you send a letter to them?
Artesia, no, their attorney, will. I'll call them. And let them know, kind of put them on notice.
And I mean, Steve, in his case, he could come up here and go through the process of applying for a CUP. And get that done ahead of time, that would satisfy for Michael's, how long they're gonna be out there then, at least, when they get the project done. I don't think we plan on using that as a boneyard forever.
Well, it's a nice work. So do we want to, if you,
Well, we should have regardless, if that should be, that's conditional use, you know, that if he wants to do that in the future, then yeah, he needs to have a conditional use.
Fencing or slats and I believe it's chain link fence.
yeah, and I think it's long-term plans that are using that shed as a snack bar and everything, and using the house, and I think he's got big plans for seasonals down there, so I don't think he cares about coming to get in a CUP for what his plans are from what he said during our meeting. It's just to clean it up, make it look better.
But on us being a zoning commission, I mean, when I go to projects, when we do things like that, we have to get notification through the planning commissions. What we're doing, to get approval of what we do. So, we're doing the same thing out in New Jersey right now.
Sure.
We got a lot of lay down for telephone.
I'm gonna jump back up to number 3 to the minutes before we jump back down to G. Minutes for September 12th, 2024. Has everybody had a chance to look them over, and anybody want to make a?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from September 12th, 2024.
Second.
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then if we can run from old business A, we're gonna do it all as one motion unless somebody wants to pull one individual separately out, we can do it as one motion. Is there anyone that wants to pull anything out? Sure, we all went through them together, and
No.
anybody want to make a motion to approve I through EII, whatever that one would be?
That'd be
8.
I'll make a motion to approve the CUPs as discussed in the September 12th meeting. Motion 1 through motion 8.
And then just for clarification, it was old business under A, discussion possible recommendation for conditional use permit follow-up. It included the Somerset Youth Hockey Association, Float Right Inc., the Coin Laundry, the Morpho Complex, Brad Paulson and Mary Goldsmith, the Subway Sandwich Restaurant, 2 more for Float Right, and Lakeview Memorial Hospital Association. Is there a second?
Second.
First and a second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now we're back down to 5, new business. Letter G, discussion, distribute next set of CUPs for review.
Those are in the back of your packet materials.
We will work on these in November.
October.
What's that?
We'll come on in October. Or November.
I get perfect, and then you, I didn't look through them yet, but you kind of lump them together by business. by-
Those are all the ones that I saw that were storage related.
Beautiful. So, how many of them are there?
Quite a few.
9, 10-ish, I think. I know you guys said 5, but then you also said all the storage
yeah.
ones, so.
And I think kind of once we have a template, that it's going to be easier to.
I did like your changes on all the other ones too, for the parcel number and I saw the ones that were just getting canned anyways, you didn't take the time or didn't worry about putting that stuff
Nope.
on, so there's no reason to.
I just wanted the village to still have a record of those CUPs in our system, and it's just struck out, so.
Anybody wanna make the final motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
First and a second, further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign. Meeting is meeting is adjourned at 7:21. Thank you, guys.
Agenda is adjourned.
Agenda.